For your health this morning, last week we discussed how eating certain foods can affect how fast you age and how well you feel. But did you know the way you cook your food has just as much of an effect on your longevity? Our health expert and author of her new book, Athletes and Aprons, the Nutrition Playbook to Break 100, Karen Owoc, is explaining the do's and don'ts of cooking to counteract aging. Karen, I assume frying your food is a big no-go.
Right. That's one that most people are familiar with. But this goes beyond that. There are several compounds that are formed when you cook foods a certain way. So, and basically, it all has to do with the temperature of the food. So we're going to kind of go into that today.
About those common compounds.
So number one, AGEs. This is an acronym for Advanced Glycation End Products, also known as glycotoxins. Then also HCAs, PAHs, and also acrylamide. So starting with AGEs accelerate the aging process, and it's linked to the increased risk of dementia, as well as other diseases as well. So AGEs, it's also linked to, we talked about this, the clogged arteries and how that has an effect on your brain health as well as your heart health. And then also type 2 diabetes and sarcopenia. We talked about that a little bit last week too, how sarcopenia is the loss of muscle. So all in all, AGEs have a debilitating effect on the aging process. So really trying to reduce the intake of AGEs. Just as a side note, AGEs, you can get the formation of AGEs from the food you eat. So it's as well as it's a reaction that takes place when you eat sugars, foods high in sugars, as well as they are formed when you cook them a certain way.
So what is that certain way when you're cooking AGEs?
Cooking at high, dry heat. So the broiling, the barbecuing, the air frying, roasting, grilling, all of those, the things that many people love to do.
Yeah.
But it just has to be done in moderation. And the more that you know and you're familiar with this, you might not maybe grill every night, but maybe do more steam cooking. So moist heat is actually the best way to avoid the AGEs. So stewing and souping, putting things in soups, steaming and poaching are the ideal way to prevent those AGEs from forming.
I'm sure a lot of people who just bought their air fryer are not too happy to hear about
I know. This came up yesterday. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Okay.
Everyone was saying, "Oh, I love my air fryer." Well,
yeah. Okay, so that's how to make sure that you don't create AGEs, but there's the other two that you spoke of as well, HCAs and PAHs.
Right. So the HCA, these are the heterocyclic amines, and they're formed when meat meets heat. So think of especially the barbecuing, when you're heating foods at high heat, and whether it's roasting in the oven or in the air fryer, this can occur. So really being concerned with maybe cooking your meat at a lower temperature. Anything lower than actually, they start forming after you cook at 300 degrees and above. So on a stove, that's about a medium setting. But you want to really be cognizant of how hot you're cooking your meat. And the PAHs, those are formed like on the barbecue, when the juices of the meat and they start dripping on the hot grill. And then you'll see that smoke coming up and attaching to your, maybe some people like that smokiness of the barbecue, but those are the PAHs. And these two compounds are associated with cancer.
Any type of cancer? Like it could manifest itself in any types, or are there specific types?
Many types of cancer, actually, from breast, utero, prostate. So you should just be aware of the association with cancer. And then also, when you're cooking on a charcoal grill, that that heat can get up to 700 degrees Fahrenheit. On a gas grill, anywhere from 250 to 550, so it still gets up there when you have the setting high. So you really want the air fryer, that gets up to 482 degrees, so that's also can be a high heat if you have it set really high.
So keep that heat a little lower. Okay, the final one, acrylamide. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, So acrylamides, this is when starch meets heat. So these are things that, like the potato chips and roasted potatoes that are cooked at a high heat, pretzels. And when this starch meets heat, it forms a chemical reaction called the Maillard reaction, which is quote unquote browning. And when you probably have seen this chemical reaction take place when you put dough inside the oven, let it bake for about 15-20 minutes, and voila, you have a cookie, and that is the reaction that takes place to cause it to get caramelized and nice and brown.
So you're saying I shouldn't be eating cookies then?
Keep them to a minimum. So the more that you know, the more that you know what these things can do and how certain foods, so it's not only important to pay attention to the foods you eat, but also how you prepare them.
Okay, well, all of this, of course, I know is outlined in your book, Athletes and Aprons. It's available on Amazon as well as on your website, KarenOwoc.com. Karen, I'm going to have to really go back and look at my diet, and my meal planning and whatnot to really take into account all this that you've been telling us over the past couple weeks. Thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome, and I'm happy to help you.
We'll be right back after the break.